Have you ever felt underestimated despite knowing your own strength? It's a feeling many of us have faced at some point, whether it's in our careers, relationships, or even within ourselves. Once said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength." This timeless wisdom reminds us that our true power lies not in how others perceive us, but in how we choose to respond to those perceptions. In this video, we'll explore the Stoic principles of self-mastery, detachment, and focusing on what's within our control, tools that can help you navigate societal judgments with confidence and resilience. By the end, you'll walk away with practical insights to strengthen your inner resolve and rise above the noise of external validation. Let's begin this journey together, uncovering how to stay unaffected when society underestimates the strength you already hold within. Stoicism teaches us that what others think of us is beyond our control. This simple yet profound idea lies at the heart of Stoic philosophy. The Stoics believed that external judgments, whether praise or criticism, fall into the category of things we cannot influence. What we can control, however, is how we respond to those judgments. This distinction is crucial. Our thoughts, actions, and choices are entirely within our power, but the opinions of others, they're like the weather, unpredictable and ultimately indifferent to our desires. Epictetus, one of the great Stoic teachers, put it this way: "Some things are within our power while others are not. Within our power are opinion, motivation, desire, and aversion. In short, whatever is of our own doing." What he's saying is that our focus should always be on what we can shape, our own attitudes and behaviors. When we anchor ourselves in this principle, the opinions of others lose their power to unsettle us. Think about a modern scenario, like receiving criticism at work. It's easy to feel defensive or insecure when someone questions your performance. But Stoicism invites us to pause and ask, is this criticism within my control? No. What is within my control is how I choose to process it. I can either let it derail my confidence or use it as an opportunity to reflect and grow. The key is to detach from the emotional weight of external judgment and focus on the actions I can take to improve. So how often do you let others' opinions dictate your self-worth? It's a question worth reflecting on. The truth is, people will always have their own perspectives, shaped by their experiences and biases. Their judgments say more about them than they do about you. By embracing this Stoic mindset, you free yourself from the need for validation and step into a space of inner resilience. It's not about ignoring feedback or shutting others out. It's about recognizing that your worth isn't determined by their approval. This perspective doesn't just apply to criticism. It's equally relevant when it comes to praise. Even positive judgments are external and fleeting. If you tie your self-esteem to the applause of others, you'll always be chasing something outside of yourself. The Stoic approach is about grounding your sense of value in what you do and who you are, rather than what others think of you. It's a liberating shift, one that allows you to move through life with greater confidence and peace. Resilience isn't about ignoring pain, it's about mastering your response to it. This is a cornerstone of Stoic philosophy, which teaches us that true strength comes from how we engage with life's difficulties, not from avoiding them. The Stoics believed that every challenge, no matter how daunting, is an opportunity to grow. Seneca, one of the most influential Stoic thinkers, put it this way: "Difficulties strengthen the mind as labor does the body." In other words, the struggles we face are like weights for the soul. They build our mental muscles when we lift them with intention. Take the Younger, for example. He was a Roman senator who faced immense political and personal trials, yet he remained steadfast in his principles. Even when his efforts to preserve the Roman Republic failed, he didn't collapse under the weight of defeat. Instead, he used his adversity as a way to deepen his commitment to virtue. So resilience wasn't about being impervious to pain. It was about refusing to let that pain dictate his actions or his character. He embodied the Stoic ideal of focusing on what he could control, his own mind and choices, while accepting what he couldn't. This mindset isn't just for ancient philosophers or historical figures. It's a practical tool for anyone navigating the ups and downs of modern life. Think about a time when you faced a challenge that felt overwhelming at first. Maybe it was a setback at work, a personal loss, or a moment of self-doubt. Looking back, can you see how that experience shaped you? How it taught you something about your own strength? The Stoics would argue that these moments, as painful as they might be, are where we discover our true capacity for resilience. So how can you apply this in your own life? Start by shifting your perspective. Instead of seeing obstacles as threats, try viewing them as teachers. Ask yourself, what can this situation reveal about my inner strength? How can I respond in a way that aligns with my values? This simple shift in thinking can transform even the most difficult circumstances into opportunities for growth. Remember, resilience isn't about avoiding the storm. It's about learning to dance in the rain. Detachment doesn't mean indifference. It means freedom. In Stoicism, this idea is central to living a life anchored in your own values rather than being tossed around by the opinions and judgments of others. Think of it like this. When you stop tying your self-worth to external validation, you gain the ability to move through the world with clarity and purpose. It's not about shutting people out or becoming cold. It's about recognizing that your worth isn't determined by applause, likes, or approval. Once said, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength. This is the essence of cognitive detachment. It's about understanding that while you can't control how others see you, you can control how you respond to their opinions. Imagine scrolling through social media, where every post feels like a bid for validation. What if, instead of waiting for likes or comments to feel good, you focused on whether what you shared aligns with your values? That shift from seeking approval to valuing your own sense of integrity is where true freedom begins. Consider a time when you felt the weight of societal expectations. Maybe it was a moment when you tried to fit into a mold that didn't feel authentic just to gain acceptance. Cognitive detachment invites you to step back from that pressure and ask yourself, why am I doing this? Does this align with who I truly am? It's not easy, especially in a world that constantly pushes us to measure our worth by external standards. But the more you practice this kind of detachment, the more you'll find that your inner strength becomes unshakable. So what would it feel like to live without seeking approval from others? Picture a life where your decisions are guided by your own compass, not the ever-changing winds of public opinion. It might feel unfamiliar at first, even uncomfortable, but over time it becomes liberating. This is the power of cognitive detachment, not just as a Stoic principle, but as a practical tool for navigating the complexities of modern life. Your mind is your strongest defense against external chaos. This is the essence of the Stoic concept known as the Inner Citadel, a mental fortress where you can find refuge no matter what storms rage outside. Think of it as a sanctuary within yourself, a place where you can retreat to regain clarity, calm, and control. Once wrote, "Nowhere can man find a quieter or more untroubled retreat than in his own soul." This isn't about escaping reality, but rather creating a space where you can process life's challenges without being swept away by them. The inner citadel isn't a physical place, but a mindset. It's the ability to step back from the noise, the criticism, or the stress, and remind yourself that your worth and peace aren't dictated by external events. It's about recognizing that while you can't always control what happens around you, you can always control how you respond. This concept is especially powerful in today's world, where we're constantly bombarded with opinions, expectations, and pressures. When you feel overwhelmed by criticism or stress, the inner citadel becomes your anchor, helping you stay grounded and focused on what truly matters. So how can you build and strengthen your own inner citadel? Start by carving out moments of stillness in your day. It could be as simple as taking a few deep breaths when you feel tension rising or journaling to untangle your thoughts. Over time, these small practices create a habit of returning to that inner calm. And when the world feels overwhelming, ask yourself this: where do you retreat when the chaos becomes too much? Is it a quiet room, a walk in nature, or simply a moment of reflection? Whatever it is, remember that your inner citadel is always there, waiting to offer you peace and perspective. What if being underestimated was a gift, not a curse? This is where the Stoic principle of or love of fate comes into play. At its core is about embracing everything life throws at you, not just the good, but the difficult, the unexpected, and even the moments when others doubt your potential. When society underestimates you, it can feel like a blow to your confidence, but invites you to see it differently. It's not about ignoring the sting of being overlooked. It's about transforming that experience into fuel for growth. Think of it this way: every challenge, every moment of being underestimated is a chance to prove yourself, not to others but to yourself. The Stoics, along with thinkers like Nietzsche, believed that loving your fate means accepting the obstacles as part of your journey. Nietzsche famously said, "My formula for greatness in a human being is that one wants nothing to be different, not forward, not backward, not in all eternity." In other words, your fate, with all its trials, is uniquely yours. To love it is to find power in it. History is filled with examples of individuals who turned underestimation into triumph. Take Socrates, for instance. He was ridiculed and dismissed by many of his contemporaries, yet his commitment to his principles and his love for intellectual pursuit made him one of history's most influential thinkers. Or consider who was underestimated at every turn because of her gender and race, yet she channeled that underestimation into a relentless drive to lead others to freedom. These figures didn't just endure their circumstances, they embraced them, using their challenges as stepping stones to greatness. So how could you reframe being underestimated as an opportunity? Start by asking yourself, what can this moment teach me? How can I grow stronger, more resilient, or more focused because of it? Isn't about passive acceptance, it's about active engagement with your fate. When you love your fate, you stop seeing obstacles as setbacks and start seeing them as opportunities to rise above. It's not easy, but it's profoundly empowering. What if you prepared for criticism before it even happened? This is the core of the Stoic practice known as negative visualization, a powerful tool that helps us face societal judgments with calm and clarity. The idea is simple yet profound. By imagining the worst-case scenarios, we strip away the fear and anxiety that often come with external opinions. When we mentally rehearse being underestimated or criticized, we take away their power to surprise or upset us. As Seneca once said, "What is quite unlooked for is more crushing in its effect, and unexpectedness adds to the weight of a disaster." By preparing for adversity, we ensure it doesn't catch us off guard. Think about it this way. If you've already visualized someone underestimating your abilities, you're no longer reacting in the heat of the moment. Instead, you've already crafted a response rooted in reason and self-assurance. For example, imagine walking into a meeting where your ideas are dismissed simply because others don't see your potential. If you've practiced negative visualization, you've already anticipated this scenario. You might respond with calm confidence, acknowledging their perspective while standing firm in your own worth. This isn't about expecting the worst to happen, it's about being ready if it does. So how would you handle being underestimated if you were fully prepared? Take a moment to reflect on this. What would it feel like to face judgment with unshakable composure? By practicing negative visualization, you're not just bracing for challenges, you're building a mindset that thrives in the face of them. This Stoic exercise doesn't just prepare you for criticism, it transforms how you see yourself, reminding you that your strength comes from within, not from the opinions of others. Who gets to define your worth, you or society? This is a question Stoicism challenges us to confront head-on. At its core, Stoic philosophy teaches that true strength comes from understanding and defining ourselves on our own terms, not by the fleeting opinions or expectations of others. It's about reclaiming the narrative of who we are and what we stand for. As Epictetus once said, "No man is free who is not master of himself." This idea of self-mastery is central to Stoicism. It's about taking ownership of your values, your choices, and ultimately your identity. Think about it. Society often measures success by external markers, wealth, status, or recognition. But Stoicism invites us to look inward. What truly matters to you? What principles guide your decisions? For example, imagine someone choosing a career path not because it's prestigious or lucrative, but because it aligns with their personal values and passions. That's self-definition in action. It's a quiet act of rebellion against societal pressures, a way of saying, "This is who I am, and I won't let anyone else dictate my worth." So how do you define success for yourself, apart from societal expectations? Take a moment to reflect on what truly matters to you. Is it peace of mind, growth, relationships? Stoicism reminds us that when we define ourselves by our own standards, we cultivate a resilience that no external judgment can shake. It's not about rejecting society entirely, but about ensuring that our self-worth comes from within. This inner clarity becomes our anchor, keeping us steady even when the world underestimates us. Sometimes the most powerful response is no response at all. Think about it. When someone underestimates you or tries to provoke a reaction, silence can be your greatest ally. The Stoics understood this deeply. He once wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength." In other words, your strength lies not in reacting to every slight or challenge, but in choosing when to engage and when to let your silence speak for you. Why is silence so effective? Because it deprives others of the reaction they're seeking. When you remain calm and composed, you take away their ability to control the situation. Imagine someone trying to bait you into an argument or belittle your efforts. If you respond with silence, you're not ignoring them. You're showing that their words hold no power over you. It's a subtle but profound way to reclaim your inner peace and demonstrate your resilience. Consider this scenario. You're in a meeting and a colleague dismisses your idea outright. Instead of rushing to defend yourself or matching their tone, you stay silent, letting their words hang in the air. What happens next? Often, the weight of your silence forces them to reflect on their own behavior. It's not about winning the argument. It's about maintaining your dignity and showing that you're unshaken by their opinion. So when have you regretted reacting instead of staying silent? Think about a time when you let frustration or anger take over. How might things have been different if you had chosen silence instead? Silence isn't weakness. It's a deliberate choice, a tool that allows you to rise above the noise and protect your inner strength. By mastering this Stoic art, you not only disarm others but also give yourself the space to respond with clarity and purpose, rather than emotion. Humility isn't about shrinking, it's about knowing your true worth. In Stoicism, humility is a virtue that empowers rather than diminishes. It's not about downplaying your abilities or seeking validation from others. Instead, it's about grounding yourself in the unshakable understanding of who you are, regardless of how others perceive you. The Stoics saw humility as a quiet confidence, a way to navigate the world without being swayed by external judgments or the need to prove yourself. Seneca once said, "True humility is not thinking less of yourself, it is thinking of yourself less." This perspective shifts humility from a passive trait to an active strength, a shield against the noise of underestimation. Think about historical figures like who ruled one of the greatest empires in history, yet remained deeply committed to self-improvement and service. His humility wasn't a weakness, it was his greatest strength. By focusing on his duties rather than his status, he remained unaffected by the opinions of those who might have doubted him. Humility allowed him to lead with clarity and purpose, free from the distractions of ego or the need for external approval. So, how can humility protect you from the need to prove yourself? It starts with recognizing that your value doesn't depend on others' validation. When you're secure in who you are, you no longer feel compelled to shout your worth from the rooftops. Instead, you can move through life with quiet assurance, knowing that your actions speak louder than words. Humility allows you to rise above the noise, to stay focused on what truly matters, and to remain unshaken by the opinions of those who underestimate you. It's not about making yourself smaller, it's about standing tall, rooted in the truth of your own worth. When you remember life is short, what others think matters less. This is the essence of memento, a Stoic practice that invites us to reflect on the inevitability of death. Far from being morbid, this practice is a powerful reminder to focus on what truly matters. By acknowledging the fleeting nature of life, we gain perspective. The opinions of others, the judgments, the underestimations, they all shrink in significance when held against the backdrop of our limited time here. One of history's greatest Stoic thinkers once wrote, "You could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do and say and think." This isn't a call to live in fear, but rather a prompt to live with intention. When we truly internalize that our time is finite, the trivial concerns that once consumed us lose their grip. The sting of being underestimated, the weight of societal expectations, they no longer hold the same power over us. So how can you apply this in your own life? Start by taking a moment each day to reflect on the impermanence of life. It doesn't have to be a lengthy meditation, just a simple pause to remind yourself that today is a gift, not a guarantee. When you feel the pressure of others' opinions creeping in, ask yourself, will this matter in a year, in 5 years, at the end of my life? More often than not, the answer is no. Here's a question to consider. What would you do differently if you stopped worrying about being underestimated? Would you take that risk you've been avoiding? Speak up for yourself more often. Pursue the goals you've been putting off. Memento isn't just about accepting death, it's about embracing life. It's about choosing to live boldly, authentically, and unapologetically because you know your time is too precious to waste on the judgments of others. By adopting this practice, you shift your focus from external validation to internal fulfillment. You begin to measure your worth not by what others think of you, but by how you choose to spend the moments you're given. And in doing so, you reclaim your power, your peace, and your purpose. Your worth isn't measured by others, it's measured by your character. This is a cornerstone of Stoic philosophy. For the Stoics, self-worth isn't tied to titles, possessions, or the opinions of others. It's rooted in something far more enduring: virtue. Virtue in Stoicism is the ultimate measure of a person's strength and integrity. It's about living in alignment with principles like wisdom, courage, justice, and temperance. These aren't just abstract ideals, they're the foundation of a life well lived. Epictetus once said, "If you wish to be good, first believe that you are bad." At first glance, this might sound harsh, but it's a call to self-awareness. It's about recognizing where we fall short and striving to improve, not for the sake of others, but for our own moral growth. When we focus on cultivating virtue, we stop seeking approval from the outside world. Instead, we find validation within ourselves, knowing that our worth comes from how we choose to act and who we choose to be. Imagine someone underestimates you. Instead of feeling diminished, you can ask yourself, am I acting with integrity? Am I staying true to my principles? These questions shift the focus from what others think to what truly matters, your character. This mindset doesn't just protect you from external judgments, it empowers you to rise above them. Think about the virtues you value most in yourself. Is it the courage to stand up for what's right, even when it's hard? The wisdom to see beyond superficial judgments? The discipline to stay focused on your goals, regardless of distractions? These are the qualities that define your inner strength. By nurturing them, you build a sense of self-worth that no one can take away. When society underestimates you, remember this. Their opinion is fleeting, but your virtue is lasting. It's not about proving yourself to others. It's about living in a way that aligns with your highest ideals. That's where true strength lies. Criticism is inevitable. How you respond is up to you. In the Stoic philosophy, criticism isn't something to fear or avoid. It's an opportunity. The Stoics believed that external opinions, whether praise or blame, are outside our control. What matters is how we choose to interpret and act on them. Seneca, one of the great Stoic thinkers, once said, "The wise person can be hurt by no one, for they do not allow themselves to be injured." This doesn't mean criticism won't sting, but it reminds us that our reaction is entirely within our power. Think of criticism as a mirror, reflecting not just your flaws, but also areas where you can grow. When someone criticizes you, they're offering a perspective, one you might not have considered. Instead of dismissing it outright or taking it personally, ask yourself, is there truth here? Can I use this to become better? Even if the criticism feels unfair, there's often a kernel of insight worth examining. Here's a practical way to apply this. When faced with criticism, pause before reacting. Take a step back and assess it objectively. Separate the tone or delivery from the message itself. Ask yourself, what can I learn from this? This shift in mindset transforms criticism from a source of frustration into a tool for self-improvement. Consider this: every great figure in history faced criticism. Despite being an emperor, was no stranger to detractors. Yet he wrote in his private journal, "The best revenge is to be unlike him who performed the injury." In other words, rise above. Use criticism as fuel to refine your character, not as a reason to lash out or doubt yourself. So how can you turn criticism into a tool for self-improvement? Start by embracing the Stoic idea that external judgments don't define you. Instead, focus on what you can control: your response, your growth, and your ability to see every critique as a chance to evolve. Criticism, when approached with this mindset, becomes less about what others think and more about how you can become the best version of yourself. The present moment is where your power lies. In Stoicism, the ability to stay grounded in the here and now is one of the most powerful tools you have to remain unaffected by the judgments and expectations of others. When you're fully present, you're not dwelling on past mistakes or worrying about future uncertainties. You're focused on what you can control right now. This mindset shifts your energy away from external opinions and back to your inner strength. Once wrote, "Confine yourself to the present." These simple words carry profound meaning. He reminds us that the present is the only space where we can truly act, think, and make choices. By anchoring yourself in the present, You strip away the distractions of societal noise. You stop wondering what others think of you and start focusing on what you think of yourself. So, how do you cultivate this presence? Start with mindfulness practices. Take a few minutes each day to sit quietly and observe your thoughts without judgment. Pay attention to your breath, the sensations in your body, or the sounds around you. These small moments of awareness train your mind to stay rooted in the present, making it easier to brush off external judgments when they arise. Think about it. How can staying present help you ignore the external noise? When you're fully engaged in the moment, you're less likely to be swayed by fleeting opinions or societal pressures. You become the steady anchor in a chaotic world, unmoved by the waves of judgment that try to pull you off course. By mastering presence, you reclaim your power and remind yourself that your worth isn't determined by others. It's defined by your actions and mindset in the here and now. Writing can be your sanctuary in a world of judgment. When others underestimate you or dismiss your capabilities, putting pen to paper offers a private space to process those feelings without external interference. The Stoics understood this deeply. One of history's most renowned Stoic philosophers used journaling as a tool for self-reflection and growth. In his famous work Meditations, he wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength." His journals were not just a record of thoughts, but a way to remind himself of his principles, to refocus his mind, and to rise above the noise of external opinions. This practice of writing allows you to step back and observe your emotions rather than being consumed by them. It's not about venting endlessly, but about gaining clarity. When you feel underestimated, journaling helps you ask the right questions. What is truly within my control? How can I respond with integrity rather than react out of frustration? Writing down these thoughts forces you to slow down and think critically, which is at the heart of Stoic philosophy. To start your own Stoic journaling practice, set aside a few minutes each day. Begin by noting what happened, how you felt, and whether those feelings aligned with your values. Then, reflect on what you can learn from the experience. For example, if someone doubted your abilities, write about how you can use that moment to strengthen your resolve rather than weaken it. Over time, this daily habit becomes a powerful tool for self-awareness and resilience. So, in moments of doubt or when faced with underestimation, ask yourself, what would I write to myself right now? What truths do I need to hear to stay grounded and focused? Journaling isn't just about recording events, it's about creating a dialogue with your best self, one that reminds you of your inner strength even when others fail to see it. True success isn't about recognition, it's about integrity. The Stoics believed that achieving greatness had nothing to do with external applause or material wealth. Instead, they measured success by how closely our actions aligned with virtues like wisdom, courage, justice, and self-discipline. For them, the ultimate triumph was living a life rooted in moral excellence, regardless of whether anyone noticed or praised it. As Epictetus once said, "No great thing is created suddenly, any more than a bunch of grapes or a fig. If you tell me that you desire a fig, I answer that there must be time. Let it first blossom, then bear fruit, then ripen." In other words, true achievement is a process of inner growth, not a fleeting moment of external validation. Think about your own life for a moment. How often do you tie your sense of accomplishment to what others think of you or to the visible markers of success, like your job title, income, or social media following? Stoicism invites us to shift that perspective. It's not about rejecting ambition or goals, but rather about ensuring that our pursuits are grounded in what truly matters, becoming the best version of ourselves. For example, instead of chasing promotions solely for the status, what if you focused on developing the skills and character traits that make you deserving of that role? Success, in this sense, becomes less about the trophy and more about the effort, the growth, and the integrity behind it. So, what does success mean to you, apart from others' opinions? Take a moment to reflect on your values and the kind of person you aspire to be. Are your current goals aligned with those deeper principles, or are they shaped by societal expectations? The Stoic approach doesn't ask you to abandon your dreams. It simply encourages you to pursue them in a way that honors your inner strength and moral compass. When you redefine success as an internal journey rather than an external destination, you free yourself from the pressure to constantly prove your worth. Instead, you find fulfillment in the quiet confidence of knowing you're living authentically, one virtuous step at a time. Gratitude turns what you have into enough. In a world where others might underestimate your worth or dismiss your potential, gratitude becomes a powerful tool for maintaining inner strength and resilience. The Stoics understood this deeply. They saw gratitude not as a fleeting feeling, but as a deliberate practice, one that shifts our focus from what we lack to what we already possess. Seneca, one of the great Stoic philosophers, once said, "True happiness is to enjoy the present, without anxious dependence upon the future, not to amuse ourselves with either hopes or fears, but to rest satisfied with what we have, which is sufficient." This mindset isn't about ignoring challenges or pretending everything is perfect. It's about recognizing the value in what we already have, even when external circumstances or opinions try to diminish it. Think about it this way. When someone underestimates you, it's easy to feel overlooked or undervalued. But gratitude helps you reframe that experience. Instead of dwelling on their perception, you can focus on the strengths, resources, and opportunities you already possess. It's like having an anchor in a storm. Gratitude keeps you grounded, reminding you of your own worth regardless of what others think. One practical way to cultivate this habit is by keeping a gratitude journal. Each day, take a moment to write down at least 3 things you're grateful for. It could be something as simple as a kind word from a friend, the beauty of a sunrise, or the progress you've made on a personal goal. Over time, this practice trains your mind to notice abundance rather than scarcity, helping you stay resilient in the face of doubt or criticism. So let's pause for a moment. What are you grateful for even when others underestimate you? Maybe it's your perseverance, your ability to learn from setbacks, or the support of people who truly believe in you. By focusing on these things, you not only strengthen your resilience but also reclaim your power. Gratitude isn't just a feeling. It's a choice, a practice, and a way of life that helps you rise above the noise and stay true to your inner strength. What if you could prepare for every judgment before it happens? This is the essence of the Stoic practice known as, or the premeditation of evils. It's not about dwelling on negativity, but about building a mindset that anticipates challenges so you're never caught off guard. When society underestimates you, this practice becomes a powerful tool to stay grounded and unshaken. Seneca once wrote, "What is quite unlooked for is more crushing in its effect, and unexpectedness adds to the weight of a disaster." In other words, when we fail to prepare for adversity, it hits harder. But by imagining the worst-case scenarios ahead of time, we strip them of their power to surprise or overwhelm us. This isn't about expecting the worst in life. It's about being ready for it. Think of it like this. If you've already visualized someone dismissing your abilities or underestimating your potential, how much easier would it be to respond with calm confidence? You've already rehearsed the moment in your mind, so when it happens, you're not reacting from a place of shock or emotion. You're responding from a place of strength. Here, how you can apply this. Take a few moments each day to picture situations where you might face judgment or doubt. Imagine the words someone might say, the looks they might give, and then visualize yourself responding with poise and self-assurance. This mental rehearsal doesn't just prepare you, it transforms how you see yourself. You're no longer a passive recipient of others' opinions. You're someone who's ready for anything. Now consider this. How would you handle being underestimated if you were fully prepared? What would change in your reaction, your confidence, or even your sense of self-worth? The beauty of it is that it doesn't just help you survive challenges, it helps you thrive in the face of them. By anticipating what could go wrong, you're already one step ahead, and that's where true resilience begins. Letting go isn't losing, it's reclaiming your power. Think about it. When you stop clinging to what others think, you take back the reins of your life. The Stoics understood this deeply. They taught that external opinions are just that, external. They don't define you, and they certainly don't control you unless you let them. Epictetus once said, "We cannot choose our external circumstances, but we can always choose how we respond to them." This is the heart of the Stoic art of letting go. It's not about indifference. It's about recognizing what's truly within your control, your thoughts, your actions, your values, and releasing the rest. So how do you start practicing this? Begin by noticing where you seek approval. Maybe it's at work where you feel the need to impress your colleagues, or in your personal life where you worry about being judged. Each time you catch yourself craving validation, pause. Remind yourself that your worth isn't tied to their opinions. Instead, focus on what you can do, act with integrity, kindness, and purpose. Letting go of others' judgments isn't easy, but it's liberating. It's like setting down a heavy weight you didn't realize you were carrying. Now take a moment to reflect. What would you let go of to feel truly free? Is it the fear of failure, the need to be liked, or the pressure to meet others' expectations? Imagine the peace that comes when you stop trying to control the uncontrollable. That's the freedom Stoicism offers. It's not about rejecting the world, but about embracing your inner strength, untethered by the noise of external opinions. When you let go, you don't lose. You gain the clarity and confidence to live on your own terms. Comparison is the thief of joy, and Stoics knew it. They understood that constantly measuring ourselves against others is a way to lose sight of our own progress and potential. Instead of getting caught up in what others are doing or achieving, Stoicism teaches us to turn our attention inward. It's not about competing with the world, it's about competing with who you were yesterday. Put it perfectly when he said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength." That strength comes from focusing on your own path, your own values, and the person you're striving to become. Think about it. When you compare yourself to someone else, you're often measuring their highlight reel against your behind the scenes. It's an unfair fight, and it only leads to frustration or self-doubt. Stoics remind us that everyone's journey is different, and the only standard that matters is the one you set for yourself. Instead of worrying about how you stack up against others, ask yourself, am I better today than I was yesterday? Am I living in alignment with my principles? These are the questions that truly matter. Here's a practical way to apply this. Start by identifying one area of your life where comparison tends to creep in. Maybe it's your career, your fitness, or even your relationships. Then shift your focus. Instead of envying someone else's success, ask yourself what steps you can take to grow in that area. Celebrate your small wins and remember that progress, no matter how slow, is still progress. The goal isn't to be better than someone else, it's to be better than the person you used to be. So, how does comparison hold you back from recognizing your own strength? When you pause to reflect on that, you might realize how much energy you've wasted measuring yourself against others. Energy that could have been spent building your own resilience and character. Stoicism invites us to let go of that habit and embrace the freedom that comes from focusing on what's truly within our control. Our own growth, our own choices, and our own inner strength. To know yourself is to be unshaken by others. This simple yet profound idea lies at the heart of Stoic philosophy, and it's one of the most powerful tools for staying unaffected when others underestimate you. The Stoics believed that self-examination wasn't just an occasional exercise, it was a daily practice, a way to cultivate inner clarity and resilience. Epictetus, one of the great Stoic teachers, put it this way: first say to yourself what you would be, and then do what you have to do. In other words, know your values, your strengths, and your purpose so deeply that no outside opinion can sway you. Self-examination for the Stoics was about more than just thinking about your day or your actions. It was about peeling back the layers of ego, fear, and external validation to uncover your true self. When you know who you are, not just what you do or what others think of you, you become unshakable. You stop seeking approval or worrying about judgment because your sense of worth comes from within. So how can you put this into practice? Start by setting aside a few minutes each day to reflect. Ask yourself questions like, what did I do today that aligned with my values? Or where did I let external opinions influence my decisions? These questions aren't meant to judge or criticize, but to help you see yourself more clearly. Over time, this practice builds a deep sense of self-awareness, making it easier to stay grounded even when others doubt you. What do you discover about yourself when you look inward? Do you see patterns of behavior that stem from insecurity, or do you find quiet confidence in your core principles? The more you understand your own mind and motivations, the less power others' opinions will have over you. This is the essence of Stoic self-examination, knowing yourself so well that nothing outside of you can shake your inner strength. Adversity isn't the enemy, it's the mentor. The Stoics believed that challenges, including being underestimated, are not obstacles to avoid but opportunities to grow. They saw adversity as a teacher, one that sharpens our character and strengthens our resilience. As Seneca once said, difficulties strengthen the mind as labor does the body. This perspective shifts how we perceive hardship. Instead of seeing it as something to fear or resent, we can view it as a chance to develop greater fortitude and wisdom. Think about historical figures who faced immense pressure and doubt as a leader during times of war and political turmoil. Despite being underestimated by many, he used those challenges to cultivate inner strength and clarity, ultimately becoming one of history's most respected philosophers and rulers. Or consider who was consistently underestimated due to her gender and race. Yet, she turned those underestimations into fuel, leading countless enslaved people to freedom and proving that adversity can be a powerful catalyst for greatness. So what lessons has adversity taught you about your own strength? When you face underestimation or hardship, it's easy to feel discouraged. But the Stoic approach invites us to pause and ask, what can this moment teach me? Every challenge, no matter how small or large, holds the potential to reveal something profound about our capacity to endure, adapt, and rise above. By embracing adversity as a mentor, we transform it from a source of frustration into a tool for growth. Every action is a statement of your values. The Stoics believed that how we choose to act in the world speaks volumes about who we are at our core. It's not about what others think of us or how they judge our efforts. It's about aligning our actions with what we believe to be virtuous and true. Once said, waste no more time arguing about what a good person should be. Be one. This simple yet profound idea reminds us that our actions, not our words, define us. When we act with intention, we reclaim control over our lives. Instead of being swayed by societal expectations or the fear of judgment, we focus on what we can control, our choices. Think about it. Every time you choose kindness over anger, patience over frustration, or courage over fear, you're embodying Stoic principles. These small, deliberate acts build a life of integrity, one where external opinions lose their power to unsettle you. Consider this. If someone criticizes you for standing by your values, does their opinion truly matter? The Stoics would argue that it doesn't. What matters is that you've acted in a way that aligns with your inner compass. For example, imagine choosing to help a colleague even when others mock you for it. That act of kindness isn't just about them, it's about you. It's a reflection of your commitment to living a virtuous life, regardless of what others might say. So ask yourself, what actions reflect your true values, regardless of others' judgments? When you take a moment to reflect on this, you'll find that the answers aren't always easy, but they're always worth pursuing. By focusing on mindful action, you not only rise above societal noise, but also cultivate a sense of inner peace that no amount of external validation can match. Patience isn't waiting, it's trusting your own timing. In the Stoic philosophy, patience is far more than just sitting back and enduring. It's an active, deliberate choice to remain steady in the face of challenges, especially when others underestimate you. The Stoics saw patience as a form of inner strength, a way to maintain control over your emotions and actions, even when the world seems to demand urgency or reaction. Seneca, one of the great Stoic thinkers, once said, "Sometimes even to live is an act of courage." This idea reminds us that patience isn't passive, it's courageous. It's about holding your ground, trusting your path, and refusing to let external judgments dictate your worth or pace. Think about how patience can disarm those who doubt you. When someone underestimates you, they often expect a reaction, anger, frustration, or even defensiveness. But when you respond with calm and patience, you take away their power. Over time, your steady demeanor and consistent actions speak louder than any words ever could. Imagine a critic who expects you to falter under pressure, only to see you continue moving forward with quiet determination. Your patience becomes a silent rebuttal, a proof of your resilience that no argument could ever match. So how can patience help you prove your strength without words? It's about letting your actions, your growth, and your steady progress do the talking. When you're patient, you give yourself the time to develop, to refine your skills, and to build a foundation that can withstand any storm. Patience isn't just a shield against underestimation, it's a tool for transformation. It allows you to rise above the noise, to focus on what truly matters, and to let your inner strength shine through in ways that no one can ignore. Simplicity is the ultimate sophistication, and Stoics knew it. They understood that a life cluttered with unnecessary distractions pulls us away from what truly matters. For the Stoics, simplicity wasn't about deprivation, it was about clarity. By stripping away the excess, we create space to focus on our values, our purpose, and the strength within us. Once wrote, "Very little is needed to make a happy life. It is all within yourself, in your way of thinking." This idea reminds us that happiness and strength don't come from external possessions or societal approval. They come from within. Living simply allows us to tune out the noise of societal expectations. When we're not chasing after the next trend, the next status symbol, or the next validation, we're free to build a life rooted in our own principles. Think about it. How much of your energy is spent trying to keep up with what others think of you? What if you redirected that energy toward cultivating your inner resilience? Simplifying your life doesn't mean giving up everything you love. It means letting go of what doesn't serve you, so you can focus on what truly does. Take a moment to reflect. What could you simplify to focus on your inner strength? Maybe it's decluttering your physical space, setting boundaries with your time, or even limiting the opinions you let influence you. When you remove the unnecessary, you create room for growth, peace, and the kind of strength that no one can take away from you. Simplicity, in the Stoic sense, is a quiet rebellion against a world that constantly tells us we need more. It's a declaration that you already have enough and that your strength comes from within. Your legacy isn't what others think, it's what you leave behind. The Stoics believed that true legacy isn't measured by fame, recognition, or the opinions of others, but by the impact you make on the world and the lives you touch. Seneca once said, "It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste a lot of it." Life is long enough, and a sufficiently generous amount has been given to us for the highest achievements if it were all well invested. This idea reminds us that our time is precious, and what we do with it, how we choose to live, is what truly defines our legacy. Think about it. When we focus on creating a meaningful life, we naturally rise above the noise of underestimation. People may overlook or undervalue us in the moment, but the Stoics teach us to look beyond immediate recognition. Instead, they encourage us to ask ourselves, what kind of mark do I want to leave on the world? How can my actions today contribute to something greater than myself? Legacy, in this sense, becomes a guiding principle, helping us align our daily choices with our deepest values. Imagine a tree that grows quietly in a forest. It doesn't need applause for its shade or admiration for its roots. It simply does what it's meant to do, providing shelter, oxygen, and stability to the ecosystem around it. In the same way, your legacy is built through consistent, intentional actions, not through seeking approval or validation. Whether it's through kindness, creativity, leadership, or service, every small step you take can ripple outward, creating a lasting impact. So, how can you start building a legacy that matters? Begin by reflecting on what you value most. What kind of person do you want to become? What contributions do you want to make? Then, take those answers and let them guide your decisions, no matter how small. Maybe it's mentoring someone, creating something meaningful, or simply being present for the people in your life. The key is to act with purpose, knowing that each choice is a brick in the foundation of your legacy. And here's a question to sit with. What kind of legacy do you want to create, regardless of others' opinions? When you focus on that, the judgments or underestimations of others lose their power. You're no longer living for their approval, you're living for something far greater. That's the Stoic approach to legacy. A life well lived, not for applause, but for the quiet, lasting impact it leaves behind. Acceptance isn't surrender, it's clarity. The Stoics understood this deeply, teaching us that the first step to inner strength lies in embracing reality as it is, not as we wish it to be. When society underestimates you, it's easy to feel frustrated or even powerless. But Stoicism offers a different perspective. By accepting what you cannot change, you free yourself from the emotional weight of resistance. As Epictetus once said, freedom is the only worthy goal in life. It is won by disregarding things that lie beyond our control. This isn't about giving up or resigning yourself to defeat. It's about redirecting your energy toward what truly matters, your own thoughts, actions, and responses. Think about it. When someone underestimates you, their judgment is entirely outside your control. You can't force them to see your worth or change their opinion. But what you can control is how you respond. Acceptance allows you to step back, observe the situation with detachment, and decide how much or how little it affects you. This doesn't mean you ignore the challenge or pretend it doesn't exist. Instead, you acknowledge it without letting it define you. For example, imagine you're passed over for a promotion at work and you feel undervalued. The immediate reaction might be frustration or anger, but applying Stoic acceptance means recognizing that the decision was out of your hands. What's within your control is how you choose to move forward, whether you let the setback derail your confidence or use it as fuel to improve and prove your capabilities. Acceptance, in this sense, becomes a tool for resilience. So, what would it feel like to fully accept what you cannot control? Picture the weight of frustration lifting off your shoulders. Imagine the clarity that comes from focusing only on what you can influence. This is the power of Stoic acceptance. It doesn't just help you stay unaffected by underestimation. It empowers you to rise above it with purpose and calm. Throughout this journey, we've explored how Stoic principles can help you stay unaffected when society underestimates your inner strength. Resilience, detachment, and self-definition are not just ideas. They're tools for navigating life's challenges with unshakable confidence. Resilience reminds us that setbacks are opportunities for growth, not reasons to falter. Detachment teaches us to focus on what we can control, freeing us from the weight of external judgments. And self-definition empowers us to define our worth on our own terms, regardless of how others see us. Once said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength." These words capture the essence of what we've discussed. True strength comes from within, from mastering your thoughts and emotions, not from seeking validation or approval from the world around you. When you root yourself in Stoic wisdom, you become untouchable, not because others can't criticize or underestimate you, but because their opinions no longer hold power over you. So, as you move forward, take a moment to reflect. How can you apply these principles in your own life? How can you use resilience to rise above challenges, detachment to focus on what truly matters, and self-definition to stand firm in your identity? The answers to these questions will guide you toward a life of purpose and unshakable strength. If this message resonates with you, share your thoughts in the comments below. Let's build a community of Stoic thinkers who uplift and inspire one another. And if you're ready to dive deeper into these timeless principles, consider subscribing for more insights on living with wisdom, courage, and inner calm. Remember, your strength is yours to cultivate. No one can take it away. Stay grounded, stay empowered, and keep moving forward.